Leonardo, the Italian defense giant, is in the spotlight for a case that brings together industry and politics, the possible replacement of Roberto Cingolani. In the coming days, in fact, a crucial decision will be made for the future of the company. In Italy, through the Ministry of Economy, which controls just over 30% of the group, the list of candidates for the board of directors will have to be presented, and we're talking about a deadline set for April 13th, so in just a few days. In this context, attention is growing around the position of the current CEO, Roberto Cingolani, whose reappointment is being questioned by many sources. The issue has also become central for the financial markets and for enthusiasts and professionals in the defense sector, at a time when there are many pending issues. So, as usual, let's try to take stock of the situation. First of all, let's start with the man. Roberto Cingolani is a well-known figure in the political and industrial world. How should we interpret this? From his resume published on Leonardo's website, Cingolani has been at the helm since May 9, 2023. Born in Milan in 1961, he built his career starting from a scientific background with a degree in physics obtained from the University of Bari in 1985. Now, I'll skip the long list of Cingolani's skills and titles. I'm not here to give you a laundry list, also because I'd go over our time together. But I have to mention that in 2020, Cingolani joined the government led by Mario Draghi as Minister for Ecological Transition. In this role, he manages policies related to energy, environment, and climate. In 2022, he is involved in defining measures to reduce natural gas consumption in the context of the Russia-Ukraine war and in managing the drought emergency. Cingolani's arrival in 2023 coincides with a redefinition of the group's operating model, driven by the pointless war. Ukraine has, in many ways, opened a Pandora's box that has marked the beginning of a period of crisis, as you know, which has been a rude awakening for many countries, including Italy. European countries have been uninterested or forgetful about the risks of not having their own credible military deterrence, and above all, one that is independent from the United States, just to mention a country at random. These dramatic changes have also led to a rearmament that has involved all national companies. In the specific case of Leonardo, I think it's enough to look at this chart of its stock value over time to really understand what I'm talking about. The industrial strategy has also manifested itself through the development of integrated systems. The basic idea was to create a network in which every element, every platform, from satellites to drones, contributes to building a continuous and, above all, interoperable operational picture. And it is in this context that the MichelangeloDOM project comes into play, made up of multiple sensors and platforms, with the aim of enabling different assets and allied countries to communicate in order to respond to multiple threats. At the same time, Leonardo has grown in the space domain, with alliances and technical operational capabilities in satellite observation and communication, at a time when dual-use technologies are a cornerstone of many programs. The goal of building a continuous satellite information chain that connects space, land, sea, and air, both for civil and military operations. Keep MichelangeloDOM in mind because we'll come back to it later, as it's one of the reasons mentioned regarding Cingolani's possible departure. Just 30 seconds to remind you to leave a like, share this video, and most importantly, let us know in the comments below at the end of the video what you think about this news. It's very important, it helps us a lot. Thank you very much. Another important aspect of Cingolani's management is the strengthening of Leonardo's presence in the land sector. The 50-50 joint venture with Rheinmetall developed between 2024 and 2025 represents one of the pillars of this strategy. And it will form the backbone of the Italian army with the new Lynx and Panther vehicles, which are necessary to modernize the Italian vehicle fleet that has been neglected for too long. Added to this operation are the recent acquisition of Veco defense vehicles and the joint venture with the Turkish company Baykar, which will combine their respective expertise to bring Italo-Turkish drones on board Italian ships. And possibly, it will put us in a position to play a role internationally in the drone market. Also with Turkey, I would like to point out that Leonardo's turrets should give rise to new hybrid platforms with the Turkish Tulpar taking center stage. But even at the international level, the results are very positive for the subsidiaries of the company based in Piazza Montegrappa, which will have an increasing influence in the Middle East. It's also worth mentioning the case of Leonardo UK, with the contract for the UK's new medium helicopter having been frozen for years. It's a case that Cingolani tackled head-on a few months ago, giving London an ultimatum without mincing words to unblock the situation, securing approval for the contract which had been stalled for a long time, right at the deadline. Despite the victory achieved years ago by Leonardo, mind you, we've dedicated entire episodes to all these little topics I'm mentioning so quickly. Go back and check them out. However, according to some sources today, Cingolani might face criticism precisely for not being bold enough when it comes to solutions that are exclusively Italian. In his defense, however, I feel I have to say that we live in a country where any move to propose solutions in the defense sector is always heavily criticized by certain political groups, without naming names, that easily exploit Italian historical sentiments, which notoriously see this sector as the embodiment of evil, only to then act surprised when real risks start to be put on the table. And then they pull out maps to calculate the operational range of this or that missile to see if their own region is within range. The doubts and concerns about the reasons for replacing Cingolani are also influenced by the company's economic data. According to Il Sole 24 and Reuters, since 2022, the year the conflict in Ukraine began, the value of the shares has increased by 780%. In the last year, the growth has been 35%, while in the first months of 2026 it stands at around 15%, also thanks to the acquisition of IDV and clearly also due to the crisis in the Middle East. Some observers attribute the possible change in leadership to political factors such as Chiara Rossi, in Start magazine, a reference point for this channel, writes that according to sources reported by the Financial Times, there would be no obvious financial reason for a possible replacement. Among the circulating rumors is the aforementioned MichelangeloDOM project, which some analyses have identified as one of the sources of tension. According to reports, the program may not have been received positively by some circles within the US defense sector. The system is designed as an open and interoperable platform, potentially able to operate even outside of US architectures, thus eroding parts of a lucrative market usually filled by American systems like the Patriot and similar systems. However, again according to sources cited by Chiara, attributing a decisive role to MichelangeloDOM in the possible non-confirmation of Cingolani would be simplistic. A ready-made explanation combining a certain degree of conspiracy thinking and, if you will, also a certain resentment toward the United States, guilty of working against European industry and in particular the Italian one. Which is partly true, but let's move forward. Are you wondering, in case of a change? Several names have already been mentioned for the top position, such as Lorenzo Mariani, currently at the top of MBDA Italia, or Pierroberto Folgero, CEO of Fincantieri. If you want, Marcello Ascani did a nice report on Fincantieri and found an interesting interview with Folgero himself. I could throw out more names, but I think it's a pointless exercise, since if there really is going to be a replacement for Cingolani at Leonardo, we'll soon have answers without making useless guesses about names. That said, I hope I've given you a general overview, and I remind you that these are indications from sources and that neither I nor the sources have certainty. The truth is still unknown, while Cingolani may already have been reconfirmed by now, but since you asked me and it's a widely discussed topic, I thought it was necessary to make an in-depth video about it, also because the news intrigued me. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and of course you'll find all the sources highlighted. I'm losing my voice. See you soon here on Gens Italia with a new update.